It has been requested that in addition to the videos and the other stuff, just for a refresher, we go over some of the basic stuff. So I sat down and believe it or not, for once, I spend an incredible amount of time trying to do this. I guarantee if I spend an incredible amount of time on it tomorrow, it would probably be slightly different because the basics are a lot more to them and a lot more of them and a lot more complicated than we think. Not to mention, I get lost and I can't help it, and there's stuff I think are foundational that are not. But I think everything I have to cover is structural. I gave myself bullet points to try to track and stay online. So hopefully this will be helpful and not go too long. And I'm going to start trying to talk faster to enable it to be so. So without further ado, bullet point number 1, presentation matters. Know how your place looks and why it looks that way. Presentation matters. Know how your place looks and why it looks that way. Know how you look and why do you look that way. Know how the front of your store looks and why it looks that way. By the way, if the front of your store, if the office is old and beat and worn down, don't try to make it look like you put lipstick on a pig. Accept that it's a pig and shine it up, give it a little bit of a curly cue on its tail, but you know, it's still a pig. Adjust it, give it that look. To try to make this a little bit better, I always said, your ultimate office is you have the time, you have the money, you have the new enough resource that you go in and it looks like a brand new cutting edge home and it's beautiful and it's perfect and people walk in and go, this is where I want to live. But what if what you needed to rent was an older building? Was a office that was 34 years old. You've got limited cash coming in. You've got to just work with what you can. What you want to go for is that rugged, grinding look. You want to have that, we're construction. We don't have time for this stuff. Oh, this is what men do stuff. And you want to have freaking pieces of sheetrock leaning somewhere. And you want to have a ladder in the corner. You want to have a bucket with a spinner for the mud going on the side. And you want to have plans stacked everywhere. And, you know, just stacks of different types. You want it to look just, I mean, busy, hardcore. We're always going, growing. That's the image you got to give. What fits you and how does it go? In other words, presentation matters. Next step, basic stuff. Greeting is everything. Sales never gets to make a second impression. To repeat, sales never gets a chance to make a second impression. You win or lose on the first impression, so it better rule. Handshake matters. Handshake is a huge part of first impression. Your smile matters. How you greet is a huge part of your first impression. Going back to handshake, remember, turn your wrist a little. You got to cock it and line it up with the joint bones. Otherwise, you do the mistake I do all the time of coming in and hitting wrong. You want it set up so that you have to go deep. That gets you set correctly for a firm handshake. The position of the hand and the twist of the wrist has more to do with the firm handshake than anything. You don't want a firm handshake in the standpoint of, oh, I'm strong. People hate that. They read it as you're insecure, you have issues and things. But firm and solid and true and deep, that means a ton. Do not crush, especially a woman's hand. They don't like that any more than you would somebody doing it to you. So practice that, learn it up. If your handshake is weak, fix it. Never be a handshake. Says a lot and it says it all in the wrong way. All of this matters. Little side note bullet point, the next. Women do not exist below the chin. Women don't exist below the chin. Period. All times. Here and up. No neck. No shoulders. Nothing else. A woman client should always be respected and always looked at and revered from here up. I don't care if a gal comes in with the fanciest low cut neck, you don't see it. Matter of fact, the woman that's trying hardest to draw your eye will respect the living boo hockeys out of the fact that you're not talking to her like this, like she's used to. If anything, worst case scenario, she's mystified and wants to know what's going on in your head. Either way, you won, 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 won. Young lady comes in with the greatest legs you ever saw in your life. Dude, you can watch that when you're out at 7-Eleven getting a snow cone. In your office, doesn't exist. You don't see, you don't notice. It is not there. Women do not exist below the chin. Preferably, men don't either. In all sincerity, preferably men don't either. You want to watch from there. Somewhere I'm going to get into this again, so I'm probably going to re-hit this bullet point. But let me say, rule of thumb, when you are communicating, if you're looking down, if you're making notes, look at your paper. Don't try to be one of these. Don't obsess with the eyesight. At the same time, this might seem to be a limited amount to view. The face can tell everything. You want eye contact and you want to follow eye contact. That said, some people don't like to hold too much eye contact. Your gaze might be too strong and too piercing. It might just be confusing. They might be the kind of person who was raised without it and it makes them insecure. Make eye contact, but it can be too much. By the way, 30 minutes of direct eye contact, y'all are lovers at the end. It can't happen. It's too much. So, how do you maintain eye contact without true eye contact? I learned this trick a long time ago. Watch their mouth. Stare at their mouth. When they are speaking, watch their mouth. It looks like your eyes are looking into their eyes. And they will have the feel that you're holding perfect eye contact, but doing it in the polite way, which is staring passive eye into passive eye versus dominant eye into dominant eye. If you don't know what that is, ask me and I'll explain another time. Watch their mouth. Mouth movements, how they enunciate, tell you a ton about them. The other is, if you watch that, by the way, any of y'all ever try to speak like somebody you thought was cool? Singer Eddie Money, just, whatever it is. Do you ever realize that if you wanted to get that sound, that enunciation, that singing voice that they had that's so cool and unique, the only way you can do it is honestly to manipulate your mouth to get the same kind of angles that they did and what that does for you? So you watch their mouth when they're communicating, you let that flow in, and that leads us to our next wonderful bullet point. Basic sales, one of the most important things you can do, mirror. Mirror the client. If the client's mouth is moving in a particular way, which creates a certain enunciation in a way that they prefer to have and hear stressed to you, it's how they prefer, or their subconscious mind would not be using that format for enunciation. And you're watching, and you do it as a gentle subconscious. Don't push it. If you push it, it's going to be obvious. You don't mirror like they said there, so you do this. I mean, nothing's aggressive or mean, people. Mirror, mirror gently, mirror lovingly, mirror to give comfort and support, but mirror. So you start framing your lips and your mouth to say the words that you have to say in the exact same way, and all of a sudden you start mirroring in a very positive way in a flow of communication that they like. Don't make this too harsh. I'd love to take this to a deeper level. I won't. I would just say it has value. Mirroring is one of the very first, most basic steps. After we've won the initial battle, which is the meet and greet and the presentation, mirroring comes on. What is the next one? Well, I'm glad you asked. The next most important bullet point in sales, this one, if you will indulge me, I even want to write down. Hope I spelled this right. I'm pretty sure I got the second word correct. Find common ground. Find common ground. Nothing so easy, so lazy, so simple, so perfect, so beautiful as finding common ground. By the way, it's not hard. I've known people that are like, oh, I know Jimmy. Jimmy's a great man. That guy can find common ground with anything. And I always sit there and scratch your head and go, why can't you? It's easy. It's easy. If somebody's your exact opposite, I mean, it is the miracle of all time. Miracle of all time. By the way, trust me, this would be the greatest miracle ever. Somebody walks in your office that is your 100%, no variation, complete, total, exact opposite. Everything, total, 100%, complete opposite. There is nothing with any variation, which is totally impossible, but it happened. Common ground, so easy. You know what it is? We have nothing in common. How cool is that? How cool is that? Well, isn't this fascinating? Isn't this fun? Find common ground. Common ground gives you everything. Where are they from? What do they know? Where do you go? If somebody just moved in from the Congo, your common ground is, what are your thoughts of America? I love America. You obviously love it. You wouldn't be here and you wouldn't be looking at building a house. What do you love? Let's go there. It's there. Find the common ground. Start with, how do they look? Where are they from? Where's the land they're going to go? What kind of home do they live in? What are their clothes? Do they have a class ring on? Do they have a drink? If so, where's it from? How can that relate? Sorry, we have so many bullet points to cover. Next, smile. Remember to smile. Basic standard of sales. Remember to smile. Somebody that doesn't smile sucks. I'm amazed how many incredibly competent, talented guys out there that can build cathedrals, that know it all. I get it, man. We carry a lot of weight. We do. We carry a lot of stress. We carry a lot of brutality. There's a lot of pressure on your life. There's a lot to hold in this poor little brain for me. It's hard to remember. What you have to do is pause and get in the moment, because no matter how bad you may want to be focused on that other thing, you can't do it. You can't be on that side. You can't be bidding that. You can't. You're here. You're stuck. Enjoy. Now, since we're here and we're in a sales presentation, I can't do those other things. Quit thinking about them. Throw them away. This is it. Let's go ahead and be this. What do you do when you do that? You go, well, hey, it's fun. This is awesome. We went and talked to somebody. By the way, somebody that needs, wants, desires, dreams of all the incredible knowledge I have and I hold on to. So smile. Smile. Be friendly. Laugh. Oh my gosh. Please laugh. Please laugh. Jokes matter. Laughter matters. Do you know why? Because people buy from people they like. When was the last time you bought something from somebody you hated? When was the last time you bought something from somebody you just flat didn't like? And I guarantee you there's somebody out there going, well, I can tell you right now, I went to Best Buy and You bought that from somebody you like, someone you respect, someone you like influenced you, led you to do this, talked you into it. You tolerated that idiot that had to help you get it off the shelf. But if that idiot hadn't been there, you'd have gotten it and bought it anyway. I'm talking about, when was the last time you bought from somebody you didn't like? And I would challenge you, the answer is never, unless it was total negative purchase, such as, well, you know, I had to buy my new car tag because I hate those people and I hate the government for making me do it, but it was better than having my car impounded and going to jail. That's taxes, people. That's different. That's a total negative explanation. I'm talking about a choice. So hopefully that was cute and funny. I tried to make it a little more serious. I apologize if I lost you. See, it matters. It doesn't mean you're good at it. Just keep doing your best and giggle your way through now and then. Folks will follow and flow along with. If you're trying and you're missing, settle off. You have a different sense of humor. Again, mirror them, follow accordingly. Body language. Body language. Go buy the books. They're old ones. Study them. Here's the deal. Don't just learn and know how to read their body language. Know yours. What does yours say? What are you saying at all times? Only a fool would go into a sales presentation not knowing what they're going to say, not knowing their product, or at least their presentation, or at least the steps. Nobody would. Because if you really, truly want to sell something, it ain't going to happen. Nobody would. Can I go in with 5-second prep? Yes. Why? Because I know how I'm going to handle it, and it has nothing to do with the material and everything to do with selling the person. So I could go that route, but I guarantee you, I've never gone into any that I didn't know what I was going to do and say and how I was going to get there and what my path was to common ground, etc., etc., etc. So you would never go in not knowing what you're going to say. I will never cease to be amazed at the number of people, the vast majority of salespeople, that go in and have studied and have practiced and have even paid attention to what this is going to say and are totally and completely oblivious as to what this is saying. If nonverbal is the majority of communication and your only purpose is to communicate in a way that gets this person to take an action you desire, what the frig are you doing if you don't know what you're communicating and saying? Likewise, flow from this, learn how to consciously make your body say what you need it to say to get them to feel what you need them to feel, to get them to believe what you need them to believe. Don't just be aware of it, control it. I'm not saying learn how to lie with your body, but if you do, that's up to you. But know how to pace it and how to control it. Know how to stop it. If somebody says something that irritates you, know how to consciously not go into that path with your body language, because that will do you no good. Much, much more from there. Voice inflection. Voice inflection usually matters more than the words you are saying. Voice inflection usually matters more than the words. I've done this before with you. I won't jump down it too far right now, but think of songs. How many songs out there do you sing along with? Do you love? It's peppy, it's wonderful, it's great. And you hear somebody finally makes a list of the words, and you're like, oh, awful. The greatest classic, the most perfect one of all time, Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA, I was born. When do we play that? We play it on 4th of July. Why? It's patriotic, it's peppy, it's fun, it's awesome, yeah, and I relate because I was born in the USA. So you're out there going, born, yeah, woo, you and me, baby, woo. Listen to the words. That is the most unpatriotic, America sucks, I hate America song ever written in the history of time. It's horrible. Voice inflection matters. So much so that quite often it matters more than the words that you're using. How do you pace it? How do you get along? If you want to study that, study great ministers. Study great speech givers. Study great communicators. Study great storytellers. What can matter more than the words with the storyteller? And yet, study Garrison Keillor. I beg of you. Yes, it's a good story. Yes, it matters. But the way he inflects and handles it has everything to do with the flow of the story. The greatest teachers of all time spoke in parables. Realize this. The greatest teachers of all time spoke in parables. The most influential men in the history of the world spoke in parables. I'll just give you two quick. Jesus, Buddha. There's plenty of others. Those two alone, extreme opposites. Think about it. Learn to speak in parables and in metaphors. Learn to speak in stories. If the greatest, most influential leaders, teachers of all time exclusively spoke in such. Why do you want to speak in facts? Oh, I'd love to run down this one. I'm going to stop. That's so important. If you do nothing else, write that down. This is a little more complicated. Remember we were talking about mirroring? Every now and then you want to do reverse mirroring. Every now and then you want to go the opposite. If you have somebody that you know is way here and you got to move them hard, it can be very hard to do so flowing the same direction in the stream. So sometimes you've got to shock it, you got to slap it, you got to move that pendulum hard this way so it can come back over here. Sometimes the very best way to do that is reverse mirroring. Is their body language this? By the way, you never want to mirror negative. If you have negative, we got to move them. How do we do this? We respond with positive. By the way, this is very, very rare, but if you have somebody that's got this kind of body language and you need them in an angry state, how do you greet them? Because you have to reverse mirror. Reverse mirroring can move, can guide. Be aware of this. Be aware of the value of it. It matters a lot. Learn how to practice it. Practice it on your kids, not your spouse. Your kids will forgive you. Your spouse will leave you. Shock sales. This is a simple one, but it needs to be known. Use this very rarely. Extreme use only. It's where you go hard and exactly against their mirror to shock them where you need to be. This is not just reverse guiding through body language. It is bam in your face. It is that person that you've got to move hard and fast. It is a all or nothing thing. It can be extreme because most people don't ever experience this. Most people have never been metaphorically slapped. They think they have not. Hard and you pop. It can shock them so hard, bring them so far. It's unbelievable. I usually use this with complaints. In my world, I know this is a shift from mirroring sales. I just want to give you an example. When that client comes in that's being total moron, unreasonable, oh, yeah, I didn't get my, this isn't the way I thought, we were over budget. You're going to have to make this right. I ain't. And what are they used to? They're used to walking into Pony Express, Walmart, and I want to see the manager. I got a complaint. I'm the manager and I don't want to deal with this. Here's your money. Yay, customer service. Here's the deal. I don't make enough. I don't. We're too cheap, man. We're friggin' advisors. We're consultants. I can't fund your world. Joking point I always make to people is someday my fantasy will come true where a client comes and says, man, I came in under budget. Who do I give the check to? When that day comes, then I'll start being more open to the one that says, hey, I made choices that were wrong and I went over budget. You write the check. So when they come in, more often than not, I usually have to just let them know hard, fast, extreme shock slap. I ain't that Walmart Pony Express manager. So let them go for a minute. And I'm sitting there with a friendly, kind expression. And I very quickly and very rapidly, like a flying storm, shift to a harsh and angry. And I will usually make sometimes hard, usually more, whoa! And I slap them hard with what their flaw is. It jars them because they had no dream it was going to come. Then I can get them reset to where now I can pull back and be semi-nicer but firmer lead and guide them to a resolution that they actually need. Because guess what? They're good people and I love them and they pay me for advice and guidance. I can't get their wine room. Ooh, I'm so sorry. I can only get there through a position of strength. It's the only way to be able to help. That can matter. Can this be relevant early in sales? It can, but it's not as common. It's still a good tool to practice and know with basic sales. Continuous eye contact by watching the mouth. We already reviewed that. Know how the body and eyes react when lying. Know how the body and the eyes and the mouth react when lying. The basic studies, they look to the left and that kind of stuff. The shifting around. The mouth gets a little softer. All these things. Know how to react to that. Know how to read it and know where to go from there. By the way, you can't look at somebody and go, "You're a liar." It doesn't help much. Nobody's willing to be. We will die when we have blatantly lied. It is just extreme. We know it, and it's horrible. If somebody calls you on it, you know what you'll do? You will die defending that lie. Because I cannot be cast into such as, I don't know why. It just is. I'm as guilty of it as everybody else. You will die defending it. Likewise, little side note, this is just some truth of sales. Learn how your eyes, your mouth, your body react when you lie, and learn how to control that as well. So know this and know how to guide it. Little more core. This one, ooh, man. These next fistful, I think, are some of the most important of basic sales. Number one, ask questions. It is not for you to talk. It is for you to listen. Ask questions. Want to get common ground? Ask questions. Want to learn what the purpose is? Ask questions. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. Live with the quote of why. Somebody's going to find an animal somewhere, some kind of cockroach or a parrot or something, where unlike a owl that says, hoo, hoo, they're going to find me one that makes a noise that sounds like, why, why? And that is going to be my life mascot. I'm going to have a spirit animal finally, because you have to live with why. By the way, that does exist, and it's called a 2-year-old child. It's just not, it's kind of creepy to have a 2-year-old child as your animal mascot. So someone will find me something better, I hope. Moving on. Listen. Asking questions and not listening is stupid. It's a waste of time, and it's horrible. And it is the number one mistake. The number one mistake of sales is remembering to ask questions and then not friggin' listening. The number one mistake of communication is not listening. By the way, quick little side note. You know why we don't listen? Because we're more worried about how we're going to respond than what you're saying. You want to hear me, pardon my French, you want to hear me pissed off. Have somebody call me for advice or help. And then when I'm helping them, have them be more focused on what the response is to me than hearing the advice I gave. My patient ends instantly and I become a jerk. Why? Because guys, my time's stupid expensive and valuable. It is very hard to get done what I have to, but I value you so much, I will set that aside and give undivided attention. But if I'm going to, do not waste that time. This was not a lecture against anyone. This is me, you, we're all the same. You're the exact same person, exact same level. We're all there. That is what I'm trying to say. Please forgive me for one other. But nothing drives me crazier than, hey, I can't do this. And so I'm like, all right, try this. And instead of being listened to, they're already thinking up their excuse why that didn't work. Oh my gosh. It's the death of communication. You are guilty of that. I am guilty of that. We're all guilty of that. Kill that. Find that beast inside you and slay that dragon to the extent you can slay it where it can never resurrect. Kill it for all eternity. It is the pox and nemesis on your life and all communication in your life. Destroy it. Listen. Listen with your body. Somebody is speaking. You want your body to say, I'm listening. How do you do that? Open. This is listening. This is listening. This is listening. This is listening. This is not. 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 Know what your body's saying. Make sure your body is listening. Listen with your ears and your mind. Yes, your mind goes too fast. One of the reasons we're guilty of having that horrible dragon living inside us that makes us think of what is our response going to be versus what they're saying is our mind moves more rapidly than the words we hear. And the time I have gone, and I am a slow speaker and a pace speaker. It is intentional Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong, but it is how I do things. You have had 500 side thoughts. You have run down rabbit holes. There have been points where you're like, crap, what did he just say? Because you lost it, because your mind is going with something else. It triggered something. Your mind moves so much faster than I am able to enunciate words. So control that. Force your ears to hear and your mind to listen. You can't make it just focus on the minimal, but have it be running only paths that go with the stories this person is telling. Try to understand them, try to understand where they're going and how to get there. Listen with your ears and your mind. Listen with your eyes. The eyes are the window to the soul. Guess what? That isn't just meant for you, the magician, to be able to read their soul. It is meant for you to realize they read yours. What do your eyes say? Do they say this? Or do they say this? And I hope that somehow showed through. If your eyes are glazed, if they're dead, if the window of your soul is I ain't listening, all the other stuff is a myth. If your eyes are listening and twinkling and sparkling like a little Santa Claus, all the other stuff can be off and it will balance it out. Take notes. Take notes so you can remember. Take notes so when your mind is running down a rabbit hole, it can come back and find it again. Take notes so that when you did screw up and you didn't listen, you can get back to it. Take notes because it forces you to hold it. You want to know the easiest class you had in university? It was the one where you took notes like you were writing every word that professor said. Why? Because it is freaking ridiculous, the incredible power of how the human mind works and how much more it remembers what it writes. It ties in physical, audio, and visual. It's insane. It's the most powerful tool in the world. So much so that you often will even learn more if you took your neighbor's notes and copied them word for word than if you'd sat there and heard the lecture yourself and written nothing. Do you realize the truth of this? It's incredibly powerful. It also says to people, not that you're stupid and lazy, it says you care and you pay attention and you track detail. It is so powerful, so helpful, so useful. Take notes. Oh my gosh, please take notes. Repeat what they said to confirm to you and to them what they're saying. This is not disrespectful. This is not moronic. This is not lame. This is not rude. It is the exact opposite. It is the most respectful thing you could ever do. Be sure and do so. If you are smart enough, rephrase it in the repetition to shift their own words and thoughts into the path you need them to be in and to cut out early potential negatives that may come up later. When you rephrase, you can shift it using their own thoughts, direction, and words, but you make slight changes so it moves where you need it to go. And potential negative pitfalls, you can be planning the minds and the barriers to block those off by reusing their words and confirming, which not only confirms, but it guarantees, is it wobbling on the track? Boom, we're on the rail where we want to be. Cutest little metaphor I can ever use for that is, even assuming it's all perfect, do you ever go to Disney World or one of these places and drive little sports cars that's got the rail? And when you hit the rail, and if you're driving right, you'll never touch the rail. What happens as a rule? Overcompensate. Try to use it and keep it going perfectly so it doesn't bang into the rail. Use that for what you want. Next, and we're almost done. Yay! I know you're sick of this. Trial closes. Trial closes. Trial closes are huge. We're back to pure basics. We're no longer in a segment of basics. Trial closes. Always be closing. What does always be closing mean? It means always floating trial closes out. If I could, would. All these little things. Hey, what do you think of? Well, what decision do you have land? Yes. Trial close. It's a blatant trial close. And by the way, it closed. Ding, boom, next. Do you have plans? No. Well, have you got any ideas? No. Crap, we got a lot to do. It's a trial close. You're getting there. We're going to start making commitments. When we see that plan, say, hey, what do you think of this? Here's the, let's get in the triangle and the cost and where's it? Well, you know, and one of my favorites, because people don't want to tell you, but they love to have you frame it for them. I can look at you and pretty well know what your budget goal range is. So if I think you're probably going to be around 110 bucks a foot, I said, look and go, hey, you know, what's your goal range? Trying to stay somewhere in the 95, 110, 115, 120 range? What'd they hear? The 95. 95 to 100? Or are you trying to be more in the 110, 120 range? What's the goal? Because we can be anywhere in this. I know I just nailed it, but the confidence got there. By the way, what is that? It's a stinking trial close. You know what I've never, ever heard? I've never heard this. I'm not going to tell you that. Never. I've heard, oh, I was thinking 40. Oh, crap. Well, I'm glad we closed this one. We got to get this fixed fast. Or, we were hoping to stay under 200. Write the contract, baby. Love these worlds. By the way, don't write the contract, baby. You're going to get there, but you can't get there if you don't feed the whole meal. You've got to build the full value. You've got to lay the whole foundation. Okay, next. Once you know what they are after, we're going back and we're flowing through all these other things, and you realize this is their thing, this is their button, this is their ticket, this is their goal, this is what they want to know. Delay the reply. Delay, delay, delay. Clients need to earn the information emotionally, not just intellectually. They need it emotionally more than they need it intellectually. By the way, the old joke, husbands and wives, you're just going to have to hear it from, yeah, my husband's done that. Husbands, how many times have you known exactly the solution to your wife's problem? Well, tell Carol to do this, boom. It's over, done, shut, go. How many times has that been the right way to handle it? How many times have you listened, given emotional strength, and maybe not even mentioned the easy answer that you know is there? And how many times has that been the right response? This is a 1, and now we're 100%. Why? Because people, and this goes for men as well, dudes, people emotionally have to get there if they're going to value it. If you need to stay active, make yourself even a better salesperson. Follow deeper to the why of why they want that knowledge. It makes the sale a lot more fun for you, and it makes your service a billion times better. Oh, I know exactly what they want to know. I can give them the answer right now. Well, why is that an important thing to them? Why is that the answer they're after? And is that the deeper underlying answer? And how can we get there and get that? By the way, when we go back to that, when you're listening to your wife, instead of just this is what to do, you want to know why it often didn't you go with that same fact, or at least it's some variation, or you don't give any at all? It's because as you listen and as you get involved and as you connect emotionally and as you let it pour forth, number one, they usually come to the correct conclusion all on their own. And number two, you usually find there were deeper other mitigating factors that were more intriguing and more important that impact and totally change how you would have gone about getting there. So it makes the sale much more powerful, much more fun, and it drives it much deeper. Do this. Next, last 2. Ask for the sale. Even trial closes that don't eventually lead to a close, a true close, a hard close, a commitment is worthless. No matter how perfectly you sold them, how deeply, how desperately, how absolute. If you don't ask for it, it ain't going to happen. I was watching a movie a while back with my wife, I believe, a little romantic comedy, and it was kind of cute. But the girl goes in and she's so frustrated. It's like, oh my gosh, I was there. Yeah, and I mean, basically what's going on is the guy had sold her. It was done. What it was after, you know, the modern lack of morality, boom. But even though she's sold, even though she's committed, even though all he had to do was take my hand and we were upstairs and good to go. But the poor dumbass guy who'd done it all perfect and lined it up and it closed every single minor trial close of the whole thing. Wasn't really sure what to do, was a little insecure, and just couldn't make that last ask for it. Everything he wanted, went for, paid for, and all. Everything she now desperately wants. But you want to say, well, then wouldn't she have gone and said, oh, let's go upstairs now? No, nobody does. You can have them totally seduced. You still have to ask for the close. Ask for the sale. By the way, people that you haven't even done that great a job with, sometimes are just types that can't stand to say no. So they say yes. Ask for the sale. Last but not least, when you are done, when you have finished your presentation, when you've gone through everything, and this is part of asking for the sale, end on a commitment. Do not end on anything but a commitment. This is what we're going to do. You're committed. This is your next step. This is my next step. This is where we reconnect, and this is where we're going next. Very, very clear. Little side note, not my notes, a little point. Always, when you go for a close and the answer is no, you don't go, well, hell. What do? You go, oh, where'd I screw up? You run everything through your mind at a hyper-speed replay, and you go back and you start reselling. There's never a no. Life cannot end in a no. No's don't exist. Go for the close, no, resell. Resell, reframe, resell, resell, resell. Go for the close, no. Reframe, resell, 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 resell. Go for the close, no. What am I missing? What am I not seeing? Go back, dig deeper, reframe, resell, 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 resell. Until we get there, okay, now we've handled all objections. This is our next step. Yes, committed, done, boom. By the way, beware of earning that just through exhaustion, because if you do it through exhaustion, they're going to lie to you. So, oh, Bob's full of crap. I ain't ever committed, and they said they'd do this and I'd do that. We were going to talk tomorrow at 1, and this people haven't come back in 3 weeks. You didn't earn it. You just wore them out so they said what they had to get the heck out of the door. You never done that? Never given a false number to a girl at a bar? You know you have. Can't lie to yourself. You got to follow through. All right, that is the core basics of sales. I don't know if that's what you wanted. Those of you that requested this, if it wasn't, tell me what path you would prefer I'd gone through, and I will go through it again. If what you meant was you wanted, hey, walk me through just the basic sales presentation, I'll do so. But if not, I hope this was helpful. I kind of enjoyed having to go back over the basics. It's good to redo core math again now and then. So I hope this is helpful. I thank you for watching. May you have a blessed day.